You can...
You want to adjust your...
It's almost like you were in theater.
Do you guys need some, like, water or anything?
Not it. Yeah, really. Do I ever look like I prepare for my audience? Come on now.
You should really just ask us a bunch of awkward questions to get things started.
Fuck yeah.
Actually, that sounds good.
Fuck yeah.
So...
What were the questions from the beginning of Five Scrolls? That was like the greatest opening to any RPG. It doesn't really matter. It's pretty normal for my fucking
fair.
channel.
Try
Yeah,
not
it's-
to punctuate everything you say with, like, a stab.
It is a shit.
Actually, when we were having that conversation before and you were punctuating everything with a knife, I was like, I wanted to tell you that I hated that fucking knife and I wanted to get you a knife that wasn't shit. I'm kind of just the knife fairy. That's just kind of what I do. Don't read into that.
Huh.
Alright, do you want to go ahead and start?
I guess. Man, I guess I've been here in North Carolina for 3 years. Is it 3 or 4?
You've
I
been
think
here
it might.
Too long.
Oh, you've been here 4.
You've been here for 4
Ah!
years.
Because we've been here 5.
How are you here for 5?
You just F-bombed.
So, so I guess I've been here for 4 years. That really shows you how time flies. And the only way that I've been able to keep sane down here is actually by coming about like maybe once to twice a week to this particular house, which we've shot one video before, which was really ironic because it was the vampires video that nobody fucking watched because it didn't have action figures in it. You autistic fucks. And this guy was appearing via like television screen, but we actually have him in the flesh, but unfortunately only for like 2 more days because he's out of the army and he's out of the army. And so they're going to be leaving. And so I decided that maybe it'd be cool to kind of just do a quick video explaining how I know these two, where they're going, and why you're probably never going to see them again.
Ouch.
Yeah.
Damn.
That's depressing.
The weird thing is,
How, like,
That's
life.
really dark, actually, because like it's not that you will never see us again; it's that
That
the
they will
world
never see us again.
will never see us again.
yeah,
Wow.
it's because the world is encompassed only by Tolstoy videos.
Oh.
That's
jeez.
I define what is reality, and you're going to the cornfield.
Oh God.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
All right. That's quite a punchline for the last couple of days of. Anyways.
So, 1,000 years ago, in a galaxy far, far away called Maryland, in Annapolis, in the Annapolis Mall, I had finished filming a typical Tolstoy video, so I was wearing full regalia, and we're just going to leave that. And this dude walks up to me, and I was getting sushi, and he's like, "Hey, those are Doc Martens." And I was like, "Yeah, those are Doc Martens." And he's like, "I used to have a pair of Doc Martens." And I was like, "Cool." And then he was like, "You should come have lunch with me and my girlfriend." And I was like, "Fuck it. Let's see what we get."
And you know, I could tell just by looking at him that he had spent many years studying the blade.
No. Why you do this? Why you fucking do this? Fuck. I went back and looked at some of my old videos, and the cutting ones are just fucking AIDS.
They're cutting.
Yeah.
Oh, they're beautiful. Oh, they're beautiful.
What? My other
I've
videos
seen them.
where I used to cut. Hey man, that was the best I could muster, man. I just do not have the form for the fucking Japanese longsword.
They're actually pretty awesome. I made it.
No, but for
Dude.
real, my technique is terrible.
You know, if it's dumb but it works, it's not dumb. So like, if you got views, you got views.
Yeah, and that's my mentality about it. But
All right, so you guys think that we're joking? Like literally anywhere Tolstoy goes, he carries a knife.
well, that's
He's
true.
carrying a knife. Like, watch this.
I hate this thing. I hate this fucking Gerber piece.
Am
of
I
crap.
right? Oh my god.
Anyway, so I think after that, I kind of just added you guys on Facebook, and then we met once in Annapolis. I found out that Kant died a virgin. That meme will last
It's very depressing.
for all of eternity. I had just actually finished Metal Gear Solid Peace Walker, and in the very end, there's a quote from Kant that says, "In the end, peace is inevitable." And I was like, yeah, well, you know, fucking Kant says it, and he laughed in my face and said Kant died a virgin. So from now on, nothing that Immanuel Kant ever said fucking matters.
But it's okay. Even before that moment, nothing that Immanuel Kant ever had to
But
say
based,
about
on,
anything
but based
mattered.
on what Kant had to say, how could we really know he died a virgin?
Yeah, that's right.
Seriously.
He
Legit.
didn't resolve Hume's problem of induction to our satisfaction.
This is the kind of shit that I've been dealing with for like the last 4 years. we've mostly been kind of what's the word I'm looking for? Supplementing with RPG games. Actually, he was the first person to turn me on to Vampires the Masquerade.
Are you talking about the Vampire, the Requiem?
Yeah.
Or,
The first-person shooter game.
Vampire
that I think
Bloodlines.
used the Source engine. I heard about it on X-Play. Always wanted to try it, and we eventually did the Vampire game. And I think that's where you came in. I actually met you under weird circumstances. You
Seems about right.
was it? Yeah.
Yeah.
Was it? Whose house was? Never mind. We don't need to name.
It was the costume party.
So it was a
right?
costume party, and
was
like
Halloween.
I got the fuck off of work on Halloween, and like 30 minutes, I get a text from this guy, and he's like, "Come to a costume party," and I was like, fuck it. So I went to Walmart and I got, like, I think it was women's leggings, and I cut 2 holes in it and tied it around my head so it looked like the Hamburglar mask, and I wore a cadet hat and a stripy shirt and had a pillowcase that I had put with laundry in there and put a giant money sign on the front. And what did you go as?
Do you remember the movie Up? The
Yep,
Pixar?
the movie
I
Up.
was the little boy, and she did some weird, crazy, like, the bird and the flamingo shit, so she was just kind of multicolored.
Oh, did she?
Yeah.
remember
Oh, I didn't even
Yeah.
know.
It was
remember
actually
that.
good costumes.
It actually really was.
She put effort into that.
And I think you went as something from Harry Potter.
I went as random Slytherin student number 5.
I think that if you actually really had that tattoo and it wasn't just drawn on, I think that would be so much cooler.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
You know,
then
I
if
was
it-
stopped once at Universal because they wanted to know where I got it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Did you
And
tell them Voldemort?
and I think you just went in
The
a
Dark
Lion
Lord.
King. You were just
Yeah, I went as a lion in a lion Kigurumi.
And the irony is that we all had this group picture taken. I can't show it to you for obvious reasons, but I saved it on my phone, and years later I would look back and realize that just like this, we were placed next to each other. But you didn't realize it was me because I was
Yeah.
wearing a mask.
And I was, yeah, there was a couple things happening. First, he was just,
You also look very drunk.
he was casually drinking me under the table. That was the first time.
You look trashed in that photo too.
I was impressed. Let
Like
me
your
just
one
point
eye
out,
is just
like,
kind of floating downwards on your face like a fucking like Pablo Picasso.
I was a paratrooper at the time, and we wear this patch that has 2 A's, and it's supposed to stand for All American, but it actually stands for Alcoholics Anonymous.
No,
right.
No.
American Airborne.
Oh, well,
No, All American.
No. Yeah, All American. That's right. But the point being, I can drink prolifically, but I was still getting drunk under the table, which was very impressive. So
Yeah,
yes, I
actually-
was hurting that night, and I barely remember.
Let me
it.
tell you about how they
To be honest.
tortured me. So the first night that I came to visit them, first of all, anytime back during Tolstoy's drinky period, you ever play Castlevania 2?
Are you
Oh
gonna-
yeah.
Yeah.
Are you
but-
going to tell that story?
Anyway, so in Castlevania Simon's Revenge or some shit like that, we're all familiar how it goes dark and it says night is here and all the goddamn monsters get harder and shit
Yeah.
like that. So I told him, like a werewolf, I was like, no, I have to return to my den by night so that I can drink myself to death because that's what a depressed Tolstoy living in the South does. And they're like, no, come drink with us. And I'm like, no, you really don't understand. Like, I should not do that. But they're like, no, come on, it's fine. And so we start fucking drinking, and I consider myself somebody who has a pretty fucking high constitution. Like, I finished bottles of Jack by myself and still been up, but maybe it was just, I don't know what the hell happened, but we just kept drinking, and anytime anyone didn't, they had all this assortment of fucking
You
alcohol,
were
and
mixing
anytime
liquors, that's
anyone didn't want to finish their drink, they were just like, here, you like this, you're a fucking alcoholic, you hate your life, here you go.
This is why you don't do a drinking contest with a dude in a lion Kigurumi.
I don't think you were wearing that. I don't know what
Yes,
anyone
I
was
was.
wearing. I just remember that somebody else came over and we ended up watching Balto for some fucking reason. We were watching the animated short by, I believe Don Bluth did
Yeah.
that. There's some Don Bluth love for you. I love Don Bluth. It was,
Yeah, it was the point of the night where everyone was passed out and they put on Balto.
No, we weren't passed out because I was still fucking very awake, but only enough to say some relatively horrible
You really-
things.
Balto was a very wholesome bonding movie.
It
Well, we
was.
didn't do wholesome bonding, I can tell you that much,
Oh.
man. I think I tried to wrestle the dude because he said that he could get a knife out of people's hands,
This,
and I was like,
this is
no,
what
you
happens at
can't.
army parties, by the way. Everyone gets trashed and decides to start wrestling.
Yeah.
And, shit, and we were doing Colombian coffee, too, because he's just like, I got a bag of Colombian coffee, so I'm just like,
Oh.
I am so insanely drunk, but I need to maintain...
It's like we
You
could,
know?
it's like we could have hurt ourselves more if we were mixing energy drinks with this the whole time. So let's just caffeinate.
So I'm
directly
just,
to hurt
and I
ourselves.
remember at one point the other paratrooper didn't want to finish his coffee, so without even asking him, I was just like, "This is mine." Just took it and drank it. I didn't even say those words. I just casually looked at him and went, and just took. I was just like, "This mine talk." Ah, fuck, that was fucked up.
I
So,
thought you were going to tell the Bonfire Land story.
oh,
Yeah, you should tell.
No.
You should tell the story. Well, I don't know. It's hard to keep that PG.
If I can figure out how to make bleeps happen, I gotta figure out how to, because I don't know that technology. I only know how to do like basic fucking like 3-year-old editing.
You open it in Audacity and then you
You
just get the sound file for the bleep. And then
I think
superimpose
you
it.
need to. I think you need to do it this time because it'll be especially triumphal. Like when you hear the first beeps, then afterwards you're like, I don't know how to make the beeping technology, so they'll know that like you
They'll
did
know that some
something-
aliens came down and that story gets fucking longer and more horrible, but it also gets more incriminating. So
It gets fun and we can't tell you about it.
yeah, legit. I wish that there was some sort of platform where free expression was permitted.
Why would you want something like that?
No reason, comrade. So I think the second time that I met you was at a house party. Oh fuck! It was New Year's, And I had been sober for like 6 months, and we did shots because Father Mulcahy from MASH had died. That was the last time.
Yeah.
That's right, and I was just like, for the Father, I'll do that shit. And what's ironic is that, for whatever reason, I have like kind of a catch-all thing that I'll say where I'll just be like, bring me the head of John the Baptist. Like, I just say that because I'm a spurg. And they asked, like, some people at the party were like, we're making a run, does anyone want anything? Without even, I was really tired that day. I was just like, bring me the head of John the Baptist. And they were like, what? Like, they were really fucked out. And this dude who went to seminary school was like, nah, I understand, man. It's fine. I get it.
Sometimes you need some weird shit for your rituals, man. Oh. Don't be telling our state secrets, man.
Why did I think this was okay? Why are you punishing me?
We're gonna delete most of this.
We're going to delete all of this.
All of this. Nope, still can't.
This is all definitely usable.
You should
Yeah,
Google
sure.
it.
No, it's not. So then, basically, after that party, I forget how long after that, but we decided to do another Vampires campaign. The first Vampires campaign we did, I think this is kind of a recap, but none of you watched the fucking video, and you're probably not watching this one, but hey, it's a fucking recap. We played it mostly with, well, let's just say they were very ooh-ah paratroopers, and everyone wanted to be a werewolf, and everyone wanted to have shotguns that have flame rounds in them, which, to be fair, near the end of our campaign, we also had shotguns that had flame rounds.
We
Yeah.
kind of needed them.
Yeah, that's right. We
Like,
did work our way up to fighting God. That's pretty fucking dope. But
Well, so the concept was that all the Haitian Orishas and everything, like the voodoo pantheon, were all just elder vampires.
So clearly the
pretty
best
cool.
idea in order to create like the vampire anarchist state is to, piss off the main voodoo god. That's intelligent. The one that's, the god of death.
in our defense, fuck everyone.
You say our as though we all consented to this
We
process.
did. Eventually, we did.
You used my cult as cannon fodder, and it makes me sad.
Does it?
A little bit.
Wasn't it glorious?
It
Remember
was,
Satara
in a
Vishnu,
really-
though?
Yeah, man.
So Satara Vishnu is that we just
altruistic.
leveled with DM, and we're just like, bro, no one cares about Satara Vishnu. But where is
I
Nuno?
kept trying to make Satara Vishnu a thing.
We all piled in the defense
Nuno.
of a lonely, neckbeard, basement-dwelling werewolf
Werewolf.
Native American.
Yeah.
We just wanted to, it was all for Nunu,
And
man.
he got his like magic girl.
He
What was
did.
it? Yeah, she was a
We
maid
rolled
or a
on
werewolf.
we
What?
rolled on charisma, each one of us, to
Yeah.
ensure that he would get fucking laid before we went out to what was obviously suicide.
And he was a pretty chill guy.
It was
Pretty chill
fine.
guy.
He died not a virgin, so better than
He
Thomas.
didn't die.
He didn't die.
Yeah.
We
Oh,
didn't
he did
send him
die?
out. No,
But you guys did.
We did.
You had to be protected. That is true.
This is true.
So they assemble an army for the final battle.
We saved an NPC over
We
our
did.
character.
It was worth it.
Yeah,
Why do you
they
think
assemble
I-
an army for the final battle, and instead of fighting it out, they decide to run from the fight using their super speed powers as quickly as
We
possible.
tried to do. Do you remember Modern Warfare
We
1?
tried to remove the head of the serpent. That is how that works.
Do you remember Modern Warfare 1? I would assume that that's like the
Yeah.
first when you sign up for Airborne. They actually make you play that game.
No, they make you
absolutely.
play, Call of
Did
Duty
you know-
Airborne.
Yeah.
Actually, fun fact: when you get shot, you actually see red for a while, and if you just hide for a while,
Yeah, and then it kind of
goes
heals
away.
up.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's.
I don't even know why we have medics.
Do the
They're
plates
kind of
do
useless.
that,
They're
or is
kind
it
of
just
a
you
waste
do
of time.
that? Yeah. But we were trying to enact the final fucking level of that game with the SAS are just trying to rush to the fucking control center where the nuke is getting launched to make that shit stop. We thought if we just got to God, we could stop God. You guys are leaving this wonderful state of North Carolina
Oh, wow.
and the wonderful area around Fort Bragg, which has
Oh.
been nothing but loving. By the way, if you guys have any interesting stories, now's the time. Man.
Oh, it's the greatest and best place in the world. It's
It
the
is.
center of the
It
universe.
is the center of the universe.
This is the only place where you can be at a major intersection and see a homeless person doing a striptease that nobody else is paying attention to, and they will receive no compensation. for. That happened in the first couple weeks of my being here.
That's not true. I've been to San Francisco.
Oh!
Fair. Okay. Well, it was my.
Is that where you
first
met the dude who told you
experience.
about the Traumaton?
I met a poet on the street in San Francisco when I was 13 years old, and he told me that he invented a word, the traumaton. Someone who's been through so much trauma that he becomes a robot, an automaton.
Which is funny.
Trauma plus automaton.
And then
traumaton.
One time I was talking to my brother about something, and I said, like, I know we shouldn't spend the money on it, but it just helps with my... It just helps, keep you all together up there for a little while. And he said something like, yeah, well, sometimes you gotta take a braincation. And I looked him dead in the eyes, I said, that's what a traumaton would say.
That's right. So you ever played one of those Japanese dating simulators where you only get like option A, B, or C, and A is be nice, B is be evil, and C is like I shove bananas on my ass? You guys play Doki Doki Literature Club yet?
No. Stop.
Who is best at Doki?
Oh.
Do y'all think?
Fucking what? I don't know what any of this shit
You
is.
glue Japanese things to your face?
No.
I thought you glued
That
Japanese
is a
things to your face.
misconception. That is a great misconception.
I don't know about this.
Oh, there was
glue
a-
Japanese things to
No,
your
there was a cool kid who made a parody video of me a long time ago, and like, I really, really admired it. It's like, this is how I knew I had made it, was, there was a kid from Ireland, yeah, he was Irish, and he was making a parody video of me, and he just said, and now I'm off to glue Japanese things to my face, because I decorate very heavily with Asian influences like my family before me. So my, one of my bosses once, this really cool dude, he was like this massive Viking-looking motherfucker, but he was very soft-spoken. Really cool dude, and he just looks at me, and you don't expect this from a dude from North Carolina. He's like, you ever read the book Dune? And I was like, no, but I've seen the movie. And he's like, you ever notice how it's just about two guys having a fight over who can get higher? And I looked at him, and I was like, that's not true. It's, and I realized it's just about Paul Atreides going, no, I can get higher. I can get even more higher. And then coming back and fucking up people's
Now
days.
you ride a fucking sandworm.
Because he's too goddamn
What's
high.
the difference between 25 and 26?
It's a-
Hits of spice, hits of
It's
spice.
a sense of spice and just... He's like, I don't care.
Fantastic.
Fuck, dude. To
Yeah.
be fair, no one's gonna watch this.
Even so.
200 people will watch it, and then they'll leave comments like, do more action figure reviews.
Yeah. So I'm going to go to a very memey place, and I'm going to try to study literature and become the next great American novelist.
So you aspire to be like Cormac McCarthy. Protect me, James. Fuck.
Have you guys actually read some
Have you,
Cormac McCarthy? Holy shit!
I'm gonna end up doing a review of some
I've heard
Cormac
that
McCarthy.
vampires do really well in modern American literature. Have you considered writing about vampires?
I should do some teenage supernatural romance.
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
thinking of writing that.
Yeah. I tried to watch that
Please,
movie
please
one
don't.
time. One time I was like, and I don't think I even had the aid of alcohol. It was on one of my sober nights, and I was like, we're gonna do this, man. I'm gonna test myself. And I got up to the point where he sparkled in the sun, and I was like, no.
We're going to have to delete all of that
All
shit.
this is getting deleted.
Reguntants?
My preggers.
Jesus fucking Christ.
James,
what are you doing?
Oh man. Now that we've said all of that stuff that just got just got deleted. Yeah, right. Ironically, I'm going back to my roots, and I'm most likely going to become an army chaplain, and I will spend probably the rest of my normal working days there. Maybe start a cult afterwards once I have the financial means to do so.
you gotta, that beard's gotta get way
It's
bigger.
going to look extra
Yeah.
spooky.
No.
That beard's gotta get way bigger.
Can we get you a compound out in like East Texas or something like that?
Yeah, if you guys want to get me the compound, that's totally cool.
On
Like,
the
as a cult,
grounds-
I'm always willing to accept donations.
Like on the grounds that I'm going to get a bunch of preppers together and we're gonna knock your shit over.
Yeah, absolutely. The great war to end all wars, basically.
No, just that shit from
I'm
Far Cry.
going to convince my people that it's the apocalypse and it's the great war to end all wars.
That's the plot from Far Cry.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
For the record, I'm actually trying to do this right, and most of this is sarcasm. However, yes, I am going back to be an army chaplain.
I have a subscription to Neckbeard Monthly. Thank you.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Sounds about right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Have you seen a statue of Nero?
You have a statue of Nero?
I've never seen this.
Did you know that Nero of Rome was a goddamn neckbeard? And he would sit there and shitpost about Christians and then feed people to lions, and he looked like that.
Oh my god.
There he is.
Oh, that's a terrible. Oh, wow.
Look at it. He was the leader of the greatest empire on the face of the earth at one point.
That's a statue.
That's a statue of a
That
neckbeard.
means that somebody was
Someone
trying
look
to
like
make
that.
him look good.
You
That's
need to
a-
respect the power of the
Did you
neckbeard.
know that, you know, the
Shit
Olympics
posting
were
about
held at
Christians.
Rome during Nero's empirehood, during his reign? And Nero added an event to the Olympics. What was it? It was music, and Nero won. He awarded a gold medal to himself for playing the fiddle.
He is the oh
That's
that's
really
the,
cute.
no that's
No,
so
that's-
stupid. He's like
That's adorable.
my mom says I'm really good at it, so you guys gotta listen and like it.
Yeah. So basically, what we're trying to say is that James is going to go to the gulag.
Yeah, pretty much.
We all go to
It's
Gulag.
fine.
You know why you go to Gulag? Ha! Gulag. That's why.
Actually,
we should
they didn't kill anybody. They just liberated them from their materialist needs.
Exactly.
Wow, very Buddhist of you. I always wanted to like see like a fascist Buddhist country or some shit like that. That just riot guard cracking on somebody with a billy club, screaming, "You will reincarnate!" You know,
Damn.
Prepare to be reincarnated.
we're ready to be reincarnated. Guys just on the ground going, "Into what?" It's like a crane. That sounds nice. It is.
Join the club.
It's fucking pleasant.
You're gonna like it.
A little bit of both.
I'm suggesting that
Oh
temple.
my God.
Oh look, it's the favorite entity.
Hey, Mr. Cat.
Maybe hang on to that for just a minute before he jumps.
Yeah, you
down.
want to spill coffee all over? over our couch. That'd suck.
So that's this cat
Boo-boo-boo.
that he found. Tell me where you found Blue.
Oh, so I
That's
found
a fun
Blue the
story.
cat. There's a building on Fort Bragg that they were tearing down, and I saw him and his little sister, and they were kittens. They were 2 days old. They hadn't opened their eyes yet, and I took them home in a milk crate.
Oh.
But then, because I'm a bad human being, I had to go to a field exercise for the army for the next 2 weeks.
And that's where
So-
his separation issues come from. He doesn't scream for you, he screams for Clay.
Actually, at the beginning, he liked me better.
Interesting.
Yeah.
He does psychotic things. Most
Like
cats do, but he will cling to their drapes and then shriek. And
To say,
he just lets it out, and that's the thing is, it's really not like that. But that's her interpretation of Blue is to go. And I've actually done that before at the climbing gym. Whenever I lost grip and I was like, I'm gonna do it, and then fell back down. The auto blade goes and starts lowering me back down in front of everyone. I go. And just other people look at me, but I'm not here to be judged.
and they
I
look at
paid.
him and think, "Wow, he's lost his grip."
But I'm Tish. That's all I
See,
can.
no one's laughing because that was bad.
Damn.
Damn, that's.
It's rough. You are the equivalent of the two old Muppets that sit in the upper vest and go, huh, well here's just a
I've always wanted to be those Muppets.
You've always wanted to be those Muppets.
Waldorf? Statler and Waldorf.
Is that it? Really?
Their names are Statler and Waldorf.
I think so.
Oh no, they're named after a shitty town in Maryland.
You guys ever been to
Yeah,
Waldorf?
Statler and Waldorf.
You guys hear the band Good Charlotte?
They're from
They're
Waldorf.
from fucking Waldorf!
Waldorf Worldwide.
Oh.
You've been to Maryland?
I mean, I have passed through, yes.
Wasn't it great?
Depends on, I guess it depends on your judgment of great.
What are you trying to say?
What are you saying?
Yeah, seriously.
Yeah.
But I
like
gave
those
them my
people.
Silent Hill pipe.
Oh, wait, what?
That's right.
Never told you about that?
As
So-
stick, yeah.
Oh yeah, wait, is that the thing? Yeah, didn't Donnie want to beat people with it? And he was like, this would be great to beat people with. And
So
then he was
Donnie-
No, I
Donnie
presented it to him like this is from, I give this to you, I present you with this.
And then you walk out the door and are like, "Here's this pipe."
No,
I swear to God.
I did not know about that.
That was a harrowing experience. I looked over and I was like, "Oh,
that was a bad night.
that was a bad night."
How did Jesus Christ keep me safe from that? And we can't even talk about it. God damn. So many
Yeah,
things.
we shouldn't talk about any of that shit.
You see, a long time ago when I first got down here, I think it was actually that same night, I made a video with him, just him, and I guess we lost the footage, but it's an interesting piece of, it's a snapshot in time, and I kind of thought before they left this would be a cool video to do, because in the last 4 years we've had so many interesting experiences.
And all of them are sensitive.
And we
And
can't talk about
Can't
any
talk
of
about
them.
any of them. As long as it's consensual, that's okay to air on YouTube.
That is true.
If you censor that,
It's actually
that
quite,
means that you're
it's actually
homophobic.
Quite, it's actually quite progressive.
It's really
It was
progressive.
pretty progressive.
It is stunning and brave!
I will.
It was
one
powerful.
qualifier. We very progressive.
God, end my suffering.
Much progressive.
Much progressive, very bourgeois.
Yeah.
Can never.
Did you say bourgeois?
What?
Did you say bourgeois?
Like,
Oh, I
like,
like the Doge
doggy
Bossy.
plus bourgeois.
Oh no!
Doge.
No.
I like it.
It
I
would-
like it.
no.
We are the Dogewazi.
No, it would be the Dogetarian. No.
The Dogetarian.
Doge are good working boys. I mean, Aldous Huxley was a writer who ate mushrooms and wrote a 40-page book in which 4 pages he spends on a fucking chair. And me and Zach used to laugh at that shit and call it the chairiest chair that ever chaired, because we assumed that he was just sitting there with his typewriter warping around him.
Fuck,
And he was
man.
like, "This chair is the chairiest chair that ever chaired." What about, I just want to flesh out your characters before you're both dead to me.
Oh, totally.
You picked up.
Wow. What? You know, like you can. I'll still be coming back once in a while,
Right.
and you can.
Oh,
we
will you
can all
really?
Do get yeah. I own a property here.
Yeah, you're just gonna become a slumlord.
Yeah, but well, yeah, kind of. But I mean,
Just fucking admits it. He's just, yes, I will become the Baron.
Wait, why are you gonna spray my tuxedo cat?
No, I thought.
Do me a
someone
favor,
was
check to make sure
exactly
that's still
that.
rolling, because the thing is a little
Yeah, I
bit.
got it.
The energy cable is a little
I-
bit bent out of it, and if it loses too much battery, it'll just power down.
You call it
But,
the energy cable?
Yes, I do.
The energy cable.
Why would you do that?
Why? Because
Wait,
this is
can
who
you
we
not-
are. Anyways, for those of you who are curious on that point, market priority refers to the fact that Mark was the earliest gospel, Matthew and Luke likely used Mark, and John is its own sort of theologically unique thing that focuses on the divinity of Christ.
By the way, that's actually been a really interesting kind of part of our, friendship has been that I had an interest in, a lot of my OG fans will know that I had kind of a pretty big interest in theology, being raised Judeo-Christian. I got kind of weird and edgy and atheisty, and then due to certain circumstances that we can't discuss, I kind of started spinning back around towards a general feeling.
Would you say that God talked to you?
No, I wouldn't say that. So, you went to, why did my brain want to say missionary school? What it's not. Theocracy school. You went
Theocracy
Yeah,
school?
he-
Oh my God. Divinity school.
He accepted
Divinity
a position
school.
He accepted
in
a
missionary
position.
school.
Yep. No. You were, so you went to school for divinity.
Yes.
That's the word I think
Yes.
I was trying to use. Instead, I got confused because of your aspirations to one day have a cult.
Yes,
So-
yes.
And,
Well, I mean, that's really just a more intimate form of pastoring. I'm just
There was
kidding.
a-
I don't want to form a cult. I would just like to point that out. It's divinity school.
so, and then, I guess it was interesting you're the first Christian witch I've ever met.
Yeah, and there's actually a fair amount of us, more than anybody would really reasonably think, but for obvious reasons, like even you asked if we could talk about this. So, I mean, it's not something that people are super loud about because the vast majority of churches are still deeply Trinitarian, and anything that has the M word, i.e. magic, is just going to kind of be lambasted because of references in the Old Testament.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And over the last, 3 years, for various reasons, I've had kind of an interest in, esoteric religions, mystery religions, the occult, and ironically, my very, very religious family thinks that I was going very astray, which is weird because, how much more astray than atheist can one be?
Yeah.
And I actually have to admit that over the last 4 years, I've come closer to being more of a deist. I've come closer to what my family originally wanted me to be anyway, and I owe that mainly to having met you. Having seen that, yeah, man, it does not necessarily have to be, a straightforward... How do I put this without... That there's a source text that one should probably investigate, and then there's the infrastructure created around it, and the infrastructure created around it might not be correct according to the source text.
Right, right. And the thing is, too, if you want to get super meta about it, who wrote the source text? That's also very important.
Jesus.
Yes. Jesus wrote all of the source text, including that which occurred before his earthly existence.
And especially the ones after his death, like Acts.
Yeah,
Jesus
or the
wrote
Book
that.
of Mormon. He wrote the Book of Mormon,
Yeah.
for example. No. But the Mormons don't give a fuck if I make fun of them.
You're not even making fun of the Mormons.
Yeah.
It's true.
Honestly,
No,
most of
fuck.
They
the
do not care.
most of the Mormons that I've met in my own personal life have been really nice, really serious, upstanding people
Did
who
you have sex
actually
with
give a
them?
shit about their community. Yeah, maybe once.
Just
She was
the one
cute, man. I don't
was
even
cute.
feel bad about it.
Would you say that it was missionary dating?
Sometimes.
Actually, I have my own good Mormon story too. At my witchiest stage, when I was really just kind of starting to get into it, I would put a door sigil just at the entry of my house. If for no other reason than it would scare I guess it worked in that regard. It scared most proselytizers away. This is the South, and you get knocks on your door for church invitations and all that. But I had 2 Mormons once, and this was at the end of one of the parties that was earlier described. So I came to the door with basically boxers on, incredibly hungover. I opened the door to these 2 very nice Mormon girls, and they were just like, "Oh, hello, do you have a moment?" And I'm just kind of looking at myself, and I'm like, I'm kind of surprised that they're not shook yet. And I'm just like, who is this? Because I can't really tell, even though they're doing that black and white businessy thing. And they're just like, "Oh, well, we'd like to talk to you about this, this, and this." And I'm like, I'm pagan. And they're like, "Oh, is that what that little symbol on the door is? That's kind of cool." And I was like, you know what? They're being brave. I respect that. So I'm like, all right, let me put some clothes on. And you can't have tea, apparently, but would you like some juice or water? And I just let them give them their little spiel to me because, they acted...
Yeah.
Mainly, they weren't burn witch burn. They just did
Yeah.
that.
So speaking of door sigils, this was a cool interaction. So I think over the course of the last 4 years, you've kind of become way more Jewish. And,
I have.
Just a little.
I mean, not
Just a
genetically.
smidge.
Genetically, you stayed the
She
same.
started that way.
Just a
Yeah.
smidge.
And I don't. It's interesting. It's been interesting to learn a lot more about Judaism than I did before. I mean, I knew about it because being raised Judeo-Christian, you have to know a little. Well, you're supposed to know a little bit about it because it's a religion that is extrapolated from Judaism. And it even helps to read, the First Testament and I've done that. You can go to really good sources like BlueLetterBible.com. There's another website, I can't remember the name of it right now, but it will show you the Hebrew, and as you highlight Hebrew, it begins to translate as best it can into English. And there's so many cool conversations we can have about that, but I don't know if that's ever really coming. But anyway, long story short, one day I find out what a mezuzah is. And I still don't truly understand the concept. There's a little scroll that has pieces of the Talmud, or is it Torah?
Torah.
Okay, and it has some writing on the Torah in there. And you scroll it up and it's stuck inside...
It's a little vessel.
So you remember Naruto? They have to put those things, they have the little things and they carry it to the jutsu spot. Anyway, so you got that.
Would you say it's a jujitsu?
It's a jutsu.
It's a jujitsu. Yes!
And so it gets attached to the door, and I guess you touch it on your way in, and Yahweh blesses you on your way into your abode. We're discussing the prices, and I'm just casually hearing these prices, and they go up in quality based on whether or not you had a really high-ranking rabbi do it, and if the kind of paper quality, if the ink was sourced from Israel, and they can have an extra rabbi bless it, that kind of thing. And I think I told you, if you just give me the quotation, I'll write that shit on some toilet paper for free and slap that on your door, man. I was
yes,
like,
I was literally just thinking.
You did
that.
say
I mean,
that.
A rabbi's a teacher, and I'm kind of a teacher, so
There you go.
I totally can. That's how that
There
works.
you go.
Yeah, it's like
some,
you'd
black
walk up to
permanent
a sign
marker.
with employees only and be like, I'm an employee somewhere.
That's right.
Just open that up.
I can just do this. This is
Yeah,
great.
this looks fine.
I could do that. Weren't you in a Japanese metal band once?
I was in a Japanese metal band. We were amazing. Yeah, we played in Baltimore. There were 5 of us. I was the drummer. We had 2 guitarists. What was that? Is it raining outside? Did it just start raining?
No.
It sounds like the raccoons are
Or-
playing marbles upstairs.
Is that because the raccoon?
The raccoon is.
pushing shit? Is it because it's a dick?
We're about to move.
Yeah, we're about to move. It's
We're
okay.
about to move. We don't care. This guy, he's really into music. We've done. He actually has some really dope Syrian drums, and a few other bongos.
I do. Oh my
And
god.
we've done some kind of mini drum circles.
Do you remember that time that we went to?
Yeah,
there was
Raven
that
Rock.
park in North Carolina.
Yeah, but I've actually done a video there where I played the mandolin, and then I guess the heat from that park actually snapped the bridge on the mandolin, and that was kind of weird, but we did a drum circle there. So he's really into music, and he's really into a lot of different kinds of music. And I would say that I'm pretty open-minded when it comes to music, but I have learned that if he asks you, have you heard of an artist, you just answer yes. But I think he got wise to that, and then he just subjects you to
I
it
just start
in a way.
playing it. What's the worst thing I ever did to you?
Sex Planet by
music-wise?
R. Kelly.
That's the funniest thing you've ever. All right, after you're done with this, I want you to look up R. Kelly Sex Planet and just give
I
it a
think
listen.
this is actually a testament to how truly bad and amazing R. Kelly is at the same time, because when that question arose, I was also R. Kelly, but trapped in the closet. Trapped in the Closet. You made me watch the entirety of Trapped in the Closet, which I did not know lasted more than the duration of
No,
the music video.
It just
by
keeps
the way.
going too.
When I was introduced to R. Kelly's Trapped in the Closet, I got introduced by chapter 33. So I just see 2 old people running around in circles yelling at each other, and I was like, this is a parody. And I was like, the only way to know is to go back to chapter 1 and start. And this was back on my, I'm in that weird part of YouTube days when I
Yeah.
was 19 and didn't have a job. So I was like, all right. And I clicked on that, and after 3 episodes, I was like, oh, I don't have the strength for this. We're just not finishing.
Actually, Trapped in the Closet was kind of a missed opportunity because he's got the initial song and he's got the motif for each of the characters and everything. I thought he was going somewhere, but instead of making an entire musical, he just does the same song 36 goddamn times. And I was like, dude, what a missed opportunity.
It's almost like though he was trying to tell us something.
Yeah, that's like the dude from Cannibal Corpse who
Yeah.
was got caught for having human skulls in his house and a bunch of guns. And then they have a song called "I Have Skulls in My Basement and I Have Guns at Home."
It's almost as though it's a desperate cry to be captured. You know what I mean? It's please, stop me from.
We went to the
trapping
Maryland
any more
Renaissance
people.
Fair once together. We
did.
all rode up in the same Mini Cooper. Let me
It
tell you
was
about.
very wholesome.
And plus, there was
It was
another
very
person,
wholesome.
so there were 5 people in a Mini Cooper.
Which was awesome. I made them listen to so much music he didn't want to
Yep.
listen to.
Yep, we were trying to pass out in the back, and Happy Hardstyle time came about. And
Yeah,
Oh,
dude.
boy.
Okay, in the same trip, I introduced them to the genre of hardstyle, which they had never listened to before. A great Scandinavian death metal band called Insomnium.
They are actually fantastic.
Aren't they though?
Yeah.
It's like guitar porn. It's like truly excellent. What else did we listen to? Oh, dude, I got him on Romeo Santos. That guy is
I'm kind
really
of
great.
fully converted to like Latin pop at this point. Like I literally wake up. The thing is, I don't even know. I know. I have what the Army would call a 0+ in Spanish. I can ask like maybe a couple of basic questions, and I can hear words basically, which is pretty much what most English speakers can because they're just a bunch of cognates. But like something about that music, you can't help but be happy as it is playing. I think is the best way to put it.
I don't know,
It's really
man.
upbeat.
When it's 8 a.m. and you haven't slept.
That's just when you need to embrace.
Then
the
that's
party.
exactly when you need to listen to Sexy Movimiento.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure that's when I was listening to Sexy Movie.
That's what
You,
you need
you
to,
guys,
like,
I believe in you.
You need
Go
to,
ahead,
This is what
try
you need
it.
to.
Mo-
Sexy
Prep.
Movimiento.
Sexy MOBA prep.
Where you need to, when it's that late at night, you just need to walk wherever the
Late at
party
night,
is.
8 a.m. morning.
Oh, even better. Like you
Morning.
just knock on their door with confidence and you say, and this probably doesn't even be grammatically correct, "Donde es las mujeres?" You just need to be like, where are the women?
Donde están
There you
las
go.
mujeres?
So, true story, what actually happened was my neighbors have only, we don't hate each other, we communicate, we wave every time we see each other on the outside, but they play really, really loud, and I only know this word because of him, bachata music, like at all hours of the damn night. So one time, I'm watching the remake of Evil Dead at like maybe 1 a.m. I don't know if you've seen the remake of Evil Dead, but there's a shit ton of fucking screaming in it, which is why it's Evil fucking Dead. And I hear this knock at my... No, first he tries a doorbell. Haha, joke's on you. Doorbell in my apartment's broken. Everything in my apartment's broken. It's the South. You live there too. So he tries that. Then he tries knocking. And like, I was making myself a bean burrito and listening to the people shrieking in Evil
Cultural.
Dead.
After this whole experience, he comes over to my house, and the first thing he says is, "You only hear the tuba through the ceiling."
It's the same fucking tuba line, man. It's just dun 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 dun. I'm just like,
Can I just say too that I appreciate that there's an entire genre like bachata, like I appreciate that there's an entire genre dedicated to the specific sort of hurt from being burnt by a woman. Like that's wonderful.
Are you saying that Dashboard Confessional didn't pioneer that?
I would say that is not that
Okay.
Dashboard Confessional, and I don't feel like this is a wild assertion, is not an entire genre in and of itself.
Wait, what do you mean Dashboard isn't an entire genre? Taking Back Sunday is an entire genre.
Please stop. Please stop.
So you were a medic in the Army?
I was.
Which, that's pretty cool. He was airborne combat medic, and you actually, for like a Christmas gift, like made me like a custom-made like medic pouch that's like Molly equipped and all that shit. That's the first time in my entire career in the medical field that I've ever heard Dulcolax referred to as Dookie Lax. Never heard that. Like, it never occurred to me.
We are a
Wait,
cultured
really?
bunch.
Yeah, we know, and then we've never said Dookie Lax before.
No, that was actually a lot of fun. And the Army it's like an amusement park, you know what I mean? Like, it's a lot of moments of really intense action and a lot of moments sitting around waiting for shit to happen.
I feel you.
You know what I
feel
mean?
you.
It's actually not a bad way. Yeah.
An overwhelming majority of my time spent in this house has been spent listening to Army jargon that oh man, absolute best, Warno.
Oh, the Warno!
Remember you came over and you were just like, hey, I'm going to give you the Warno, and boy, she and I were just like, Warno? And he's like, no, I can confirm, it's used in the military,
Yeah.
and like, after that,
It's a warning order. It makes
It's a
perfect
warning
sense.
order. It's not like, I'm going to give you the Warno, bucko.
But that's what I thought it was! And so, personally, I was just like, so now I need there to be, like, some situation on a boat somewhere where someone's like, see that red light and that little speaker next to it? If it says warning, it's not that big a deal. But if it ever says Warno, you need to tell me. And at first it says warning, and they're just like, that's fine, yeah, that's not that big a deal. And then it goes Warno. And they're like, fuck! And like, that's like where you know. It's the Warno. That's one of the things that I've wanted to appropriate and start using.
You know, on that subject, we do a lot of weird stuff in the Army. I remember when I was in airborne school, there's this thing you do when you're in training where you literally, like, smack your ass and say airborne.
Actually, it's
And-
even worse because you smack the person's ass in front of you too.
Yeah,
and it's like,
you
how do I
do.
do this to get their attention, but also not to be weird and sexual about it?
So I was on the phone with
both?
I was on the phone with my waifu, and I was telling her, yeah, like, so we smack each other's asses and yell airborne, and she's like, no, you don't. And then I put on this guy who was like on the bunk below me, like in the barracks, and I was like, hey, do we like smack each other's asses and yell airborne? And he's like, yes, we do in fact do this.
So I would like to.
Yes, we do,
I
in
would like
fact,
to point
do
out. I really hope that this passes.
This is why tax dollars go towards. By the
This,
way.
Oh,
this
no,
is
no,
what
this-
we do.
Okay, so Airborne School in itself is sort of a weird microcosm because besides the kind of mandated ass slapping, a lot of that will just kind of happen naturally in the locker rooms. Unfortunately, like
I mean, yeah.
it's basically like take a high school football team and the level of homoerotic humor that occurs with that and just sort of amplify it by 10. That was the first time in my life I'd ever seen. I was walking out of the locker room when we were all changing, and for a brief moment I looked to the left of me, and there is a half-naked Army staff sergeant being party boyed by 3 Marine recon guys.
Wait, what do you
And
mean
when
party
he sees
boyed?
me, party boyed in the sense of,
Yeah.
Yeah.
really getting in there,
Oh no!
Yeah.
Yes, son.
I
But-
think that might have just been you.
That's super 2000s.
So
Holy
I
shit.
see this event occurring, and without like any sort of like break in, this is awkward. The staff sergeant looks to the right of me and he goes, "Great, just what we need. More dicks in here." And I'm just like, I'm going to leave now. But that's kind of the perspective you get on these sort of things.
That seems a little problematic.
A little problem. Oh God. Yeah.
So, couple cool stories that kind of just came to mind that seem passable enough. So this one time, we all went hiking. I didn't even. Why didn't I film? I thought I was filming. Oh, I might not have been filming these yet. The park really wasn't anything special. It was like a really rinky-dink park. Wasn't that big a deal. But there was a river, and we started kind of like just following the river along like the banks of areas where there was like a little bit of purchase. It wasn't like a fucking rock wall, but it was definitely narrow, and it was kind of a dirt ditch that kind of went straight up with like root structure sticking out. So you hang onto the roots, and you kind of do your Tomb Raider bit going across. And I was leading, you were behind me, and you were in back, and then my climbing partner was all the way in the back. And all of a sudden, I hear like, there's a big snake on these rocks, and I'm just like, what's he wearing? And that's actually what I said. What's he
Yeah,
wearing?
what's
And
he
you
wearing?
said Digicamo, and I went, ooh, that's a copperhead. And so we all started moving farther up, and we reached this point where there was like a gate that was supposed to be like a barbed wire, looked like a Silent Hill rape fence, and it was supposed to be guarding people from going off of this little, dirt ridge. Maybe about 9 feet in height, but it had collapsed and fallen down and made like a little makeshift barbed wire ladder, and I was like, well, I know what we're doing.
Yeah.
And we all climbed up the barbed wire ladder. I feel like maybe I'm making a mistake because my taxonomy game isn't super strong. Anyone who follows me on Facebook knows that like I'm super paranoid about these little brown recluses I'm finding in my apartment because I keep on thinking, no, you're being an edgelord. Every old lady that finds a big spider goes, it's a brown recluse. But they're not native to this area. But all the markings match. Like I'm big on my venomous toxicology, or not toxicology, taxonomy. And you tried to warn some other hikers who didn't speak English, and you were just because you do that. You try to help people. And it just gets awkward because you want to be a good person, and that's what in the jungle I channel my inner like fuck them. Like it's not like that if they were really in distress, but
They were a very nice Chinese family.
yeah.
That were clearly here as tourists visiting
And
North Carolina.
They always have the
And
camera. They're taking pictures.
They didn't speak a word of English, and they clearly didn't understand what I was saying. So I tried to like physically
Yeah.
interpose myself.
We're like
between them and the
copperhead.
path.
And so I'm feeling kind of foolish.
And I was like,
and I was like, I felt kind of foolish because I thought maybe I've caused all this for nothing. Maybe it's just like a river snake. And then we walk a little bit up to like the main overlook area, and there's a big sign that says, by the way, copperheads are in this. And I was like, yes! Another great instance that happened when we were going to do that drum circle, we're hiking along and we find a stroller just sitting by the side of the trail completely abandoned, but it has its thing kicked up, so we don't know like if there's just a baby in there. And immediately I literally walk past and go, I'm making my way downtown, faces past because I'm homebound. And he's like, dude, we gotta look inside. I was like, no, we don't. If you touch it, the mother won't take it back.
Oh.
And
oh no.
yeah, we found out there was no kid in there, and then like we found like a couple up ahead. Again, didn't really speak good English, and the kid was kind of overheating, and he was trying to like offer them water, and they didn't really understand it. It was like really awkward.
It was actually really crazy. So you got a little baby that's overheating, right? And sweating profusely, and I like handed them my Camelback and everything
You would
like
think
that.
that would be obvious enough.
Yeah, and I had a thing of oral rehydration salts that is in multiple languages and everything like that. But they're like, no, get away from me.
Yeah, they were kind of weirded out by it. One day, another cool thing was back when the summer first began, I was trying to get really into kayaking, and there's a great place where you can go kayaking on Jordan Lake, and I thought this would be great for him. And then I thought, oh wait, can we do some river kayaking? Because I kind of thought that would be cool. I tried to arrange a trip on that river that I once posted a video about next to Hanging Rock, and the people who organized, the outfitters who organized the trip were like, okay, we only do it on St. Patrick's Day. You have to be wearing green, and we only take, German Reich marks. And I'm just like, well, I don't think I can organize that. But I saw this other park, the park with the Copperhead, and I thought, oh, wait a minute, yeah, there's a big river there. That should be fun. So we get there. And I'm like, okay, so can I rent a couple of kayaks? And I'm like, for how long? I was like, oh, at least 3 hours. And they're like, why 3 hours? And I was like,
who wants to do that?
I was like, for 3 hours? I was like, we're going to be on the river. And they're like, oh, no, sir, you can only be on the lake, not the river that's connected to the lake. And I immediately thought, you can't stop me. We'll literally just go on the river. There's nothing stopping. Yeah. So we get this, we get our stuff. We go down to the launching area, and all of a sudden, a little bit of heat thunder goes, and all of a sudden, all these kids that were just having summer vacation just get out of the lake. And we're like, okay, and the lifeguard, is like, yeah, you can't go in because it's been deemed too dangerous. And so you try to explain to them, like, I think I was actually thumbing through my journal last night to get ideas for this video, because I like to go back and look at all the cool work I've done. There's actually art of you belaying me. I'll probably show you that. Yeah, I tried to get you down pretty good. That was before the beer was there, so. And I have all the quotes that are attributed to me in green and all the quotes that everybody else attributed in blue. And I have read the blue quotes. I just like to go through and see how good my cursive is and how well I can recall what's been written. And I read this statement that says, look, I've jumped out of an airplane with 13 knot winds at night. I think it's safe enough for me to go out on the lake.
Yep. Yeah, I might have said that.
Yep.
I mean, for a while I was trying to roll charisma and explain to them how it's not dangerous and, how it'll be fine and we'll sign a waiver and everything like that. And they were like, no, did you see the thunder? You might die.
Right.
And this is a lake that actually, if you're standing, it's not even a real lake, it's like this man-made pond that you can stand up in.
Right.
While your boat is going through.
I feel like we've done enough that if something was intended to get us, it could have gotten us much more conveniently than, I don't know, striking the lake with lightning.
Right. And I remember we went back to the office to try to get my money back, and they were like, oh, sorry, sir, we can't refund the money. And she was an attractive lady, and I think you were trying to get me to talk her up. And
I was.
Instead, I brayed like a donkey in her face and went, goodbye! And then walked out because I was just done with their shit. And you threw a water bottle at me. So you recently got a PlayStation 4, man. You enjoy any of those games?
Oh my god. Okay.
He doesn't play games. He's on a new.
I'm actually completely addicted to Civ 6. If we're being so, here's the thing.
That's completely okay.
I'm deeply competitive, which can only come out in one of two ways. Either I can play Machiavellian strategy games, but that's all.
Legit. So the one party that we went to at your place, they played some weird modern version of Truth or Dare, which is literally just fucking Truth or Dare. He wrote down on his little pamphlet that someone was supposed to select, you have to fight me. It was just Fight Club. It was like, why didn't you just challenge someone to a fight? It had to be some elaborate thing of 5 other people going first, and their dares were I dare you to, and his is just big bold words that say fight me.
I would just like to point out afterwards, and this was a great ego boost because even though I think he might have been able to out-cardio me if it lasted much longer. I had the upper hand at the moment that the fight was won. He was special forces in training. I just like to point that out. I won.
Well done.
Yeah.
I like how one of them, it was rather than everyone deciding, this is stupid, you have a brick fireplace, this could end with somebody getting injured, someone's I'll referee, bro, and stood in front of the fireplace and kind of used his hands to guide the 2 men wrestling away from the fireplace. I admire that.
Anyways, deeply competitive, so either it comes out like that or in real-time strategy games where I can just be Machiavellian as all hell. So the console kind of gets ugly for me because I'm not going to lie, I'm that person who gets dinged by Microsoft being you can't use naughty words and heckle people, and I'm just but why? I'm playing a game. The one that I like, Dead by Daylight. You play either play as a killer, one of the movie killers, I don't know, Freddy or Jason or some shit, or you play as one of the 4 survivors. It's I can't use mean words in a game that is entirely based off of me being a killer that is brutally just tearing people apart.
Yeah, it's you mutilated someone in that basement. But excuse me, did you just say the F word?
You literally throw people. It's you know how in tag you can bring somebody back in the game by touching them or capture the flag? It's like that. You literally put the victims on meat hooks and then they have to get saved by pulling them off the meat hooks. And somehow they're okay enough to keep running around.
I actually really want to play that game.
It's great.
That sounds great.
It's actually a really good game.
Yeah.
I mentioned it to you before. The thing that you said no about was that it's not story mode. It's like it's just multiplayer.
Yeah.
But in terms of mindless entertainment, it's great. But my point being, like, how is it that I can just murder things and it's clearly an 18-up game, but I can't swear?
Yeah.
Why are you policing me on that? Like, it's to
Because
the point
thought
where
crimes are worse than violence, man.
yeah, apparently.
Go to Gulag.
And
You go to Gulag.
it's one of those things where it's like
Dun, 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 dun.
it kind of creates a decision point where it's like, I realize this is like a slightly ugly part of me, so I can either indulge it once in a while, but Microsoft's not letting me do that, so I'm just
Might as
going
well
to,
not.
I'm going to cut it out. Of
Yeah,
my life
actually,
entirely.
that's kind of been something that's happening to me. I mean, I'm actually pretty happy. Like, I'm thrilled that I enjoyed Far Cry 5, that they didn't ruin one of my favorite series, and I'm gonna probably try to do a video about that. But other than that, recently with just the insane levels of control that have been issued on a lot of the things that I'm really enjoying, I've been thinking to myself, like, I might as well just go back to reading books, because at least book doesn't ever, 1, censor itself, 2, you have to upgrade to book 2.0 before you're allowed to read more. There's no fucking paywall on a book!
There's no
Well,
DLC.
there's
no
for a book.
DLC.
Here's
Which,
the other
this
thing,
is why I'm
too.
trying to write books, man.
Here's the other
Because-
thing too, like books I think are kind of the mental equivalent of working out in terms of kind of having that. It changes your state of being in a way that, like, yes, video games are great as mindless entertainment, but the key there being
feel
is
ya.
that it is
feel
mindless. Even Civ 6 I have down to like a functional pattern where I can pretty much just win.
Actually, wait a second. Pass me the game on top. Right there.
Which yeah.
Very top.
Oh, Kenny, you're gonna love
by
this.
the way,
This is my favorite game on PS4.
Persona 5.
Persona 5.
What you were saying about...
This is not mindless. This is awesome. This is literature. Even though it's kind of ludicrous at times, you know, this has plot and characters. And
What you were saying about, like, reading being, like, the equivalent of, like, working out or whatever,
it's antidepressant, honestly.
it is. I've been trying to read a lot more. These men have read more than, I think one time, one of the most interesting things that was said to me that I actually don't even agree with, but I'll take the compliment. A good fan / friend of mine once said, I have to admit, you are a really well-read person. And I'm like, shit, you should meet these two. They literally just have read all the books. This was the guy who, in response to somebody, I was scrolling through YouTube comments, and I read all your comments. I really want to, like, I want to message you guys back, but I don't always have the time. And someone was like, have you ever read Gulag Archipelago? And he's like, oh, I have that here.
yeah, he's got my copy of it.
You know, for full honesty, I actually think, like, in terms of being well-rounded, he's actually got me beat pretty handily. I'm like a theology philosophy specialist. I'm the person who can, like, remember the arcane and then Gregory of Nyssa, the 5th century said.
You know
but,
that, like, a shit ton of the books that I've read are just gothic cowboy stuff about death and blood and death.
He reads all the Cormac McCarthy.
I have.
The blood and the blood,
The blood and the
sand and
the sand and the gun and the death. That's what I like about fucking... But so, really, eventually I want to do actually a whole video about this. I will give you back your copy. I may have to actually send it to you. It's actually now worth $400 because they never fucking reprinted it. But I really want to do a whole video. Maybe one day...
My copy of Gulag Archipelago is worth...
No, your copy of Sun and Steel.
Oh
by
my
Yuki
god.
Mishima.
But that's
We-
like his
we
Bible.
need-
He can't get rid of that.
That is
Yeah.
my favorite.
He introduced it to
nonfiction
me
book.
as he is a Yukio Mishima is a spokesperson for your alignment, and I was like, what? And actually, he's a little bit edgy boy, but I have to admit he is kind of right. I have a lot of mixed feelings because I don't like his writing style. I like his philosophy.
But his writing style is one of the best things about him. You guys, okay. I know that everybody, when they talk about Yukio Mishima, it's the extent that anyone talks about
Yeah, I was
Yukio
gonna say, no one
Mishima.
does.
But
We are the first.
a lot of people recommend that you start with Confessions of a Mask. Do not do that. Start with Spring Snow. It's a beautiful book. It's a, imagine if they did Romeo and Juliet set in Japan during World War II.
Yes. I didn't know that.
So
I picture.
I only know him secondhand from you guys, but
What?
um,
Oh, is it really $400?
$400. I wasn't kidding you.
It starts at $334.
They never reprinted it, and for some
No.
reason, I guess there's a collector's market. It's just a paperback
No,
from the
let
1960s.
me tell you something. I would not sell that for $400.
I wouldn't buy that for $1.
it's I mean, it sounds like it's going to be a classic text at some point, based, or at least it sounds like it would be worthy of it. But
We should do a
from,
video
from the
about
second
that.
from the second hand
I'd
that
like
I've
to.
gotten from it.
Would-
Like, it seems important to me, too, because it's the natural extension of what a warrior should be. Like, warriors, in and of
Yeah.
itself, they obviously, like, they're geared towards destruction or defense, if you want to put a more positive spin on it. But, like, at the end of the day, I think that part of being a good warrior is also knowing within yourself the thing that you are fighting for. Like, yes, relational things are good. I'm fighting for my country, my family, etc. But if I have the personal experience of having created at some point,
Yeah.
it also becomes a thing worth fighting for, and it's much more deeply attached to my sense of self, and I think that's motivating.
What were we talking about that one time? I don't even remember. I was in a very interesting state of mind, let's say, and
You were trashed.
no. And you were talking about something, and I forget what it was, but you finished some like grand philosophical point, and I literally just kind of looked up like this and went, no.
No.
And then you burst out laughing and pointed and shouted, "He denied your paradigm."
Yeah.
And it was just almost like a weird bully moment, like, you know, new kid or some shit like, "He denied your paradigm."
I would go so far as to call that philosophical violence, because like
Was it?
when you think of like, and this is something that happens in our vampire game, right? Part of the reason that magic works is because enough people believe it to make the paradigm true. So refuting somebody in that so baseline, like, I just don't believe what you believe, it's not real, like, it's actually a form of attack.
You know what that reminds me of? Did you ever hear that story about, we were talking about empiricists earlier, you know, Locke and Hume and Archbishop Berkeley. I've heard it pronounced Barclay sometimes.
I think Berkeley's right.
Yeah,
Berkeley's
it's spelled Berkeley,
Yeah,
certainly. like the
Archbishop
university.
Gnarls Barkley.
So anyways, this guy, his philosophy, in a nutshell, was that, you know, all of us may have a reality. All of us have our own reality. And even though reality may resemble each other between two people, they're still completely separate and distinct realities, and nothing that you do can impinge on my reality and vice versa. So he was debating with Samuel Johnson, you know, the guy who wrote the first dictionary of the English language, and was a wonderful, pithy guy with a lot of strong opinions on a lot of different things. And so they're arguing in a churchyard about this. And Archbishop Berkeley is like, well, you know, my reality's different. How do you really know? And Johnson gets so pissed off that he picks up a rock and smashes Berkeley in the face with it and says, "Deny this."
That's especially wonderful because he was an archbishop at a time that, like, attacking an archbishop probably could have gotten you thrown in a cell forever.
Isn't that awesome?
That's fantastic.
So many weird historical things that I have found out. I'm not sure if I'm retaining enough of them, but I think the first night that I was here when I was getting trashed, I mentioned, I memed, I said something about Doge, and then you were like, "Did you know there was a Doge of Venice?" And I remember you were trying to explain this
the
to
Doge
me.
was the political ruler of Venice.
And I was so hammered that I was just like,
You just
I
think this
can't.
dog in, like, Renaissance garb, like...
Yep, and that's just what I kind of saw was just...
In terms of, like, bringing back memes, though, why is the Knuckles Uganda thing coming back?
It never left.
Is it?
It's been on my interwebs quite a bit.
No.
They're making a hard concerted push to bring the way back. Like, it's...
Well, what if I told you the Tao translates to the way?
No.
So technically...
No.
Yeah, so you know the way.
I do know the way! I do know. Actually, do you know where that...
But you do not have the Queen.
Do you actually know where that originates from, though?
Other than Uganda.
What is that digital world that they're...
Oh, that's part of, like, Sony's attempt at the Oculus Rift or whatever.
Okay.
And it has basically...
Virtual reality.
I mean, in essence, it's the closest thing to... What's that movie called? It was a crappy version of Tron that wasn't dark. Was the... Ready Player One. So it's a little bit like Ready Player One, you know, where you can kind of come in, anyone can be dressed as anything, and they all just interact, but apparently there was... Africa produces a shit ton of films, whether you know this or not.
Some of them are actually fantastic.
You might not, well, yeah. You might not say that they're very high quality, but they produce more cinema than anyone. And there's a famous film from, I don't even think it was Ugandan. I believe it was actually from, Rwanda, I think. So I think it was called Who Shot Captain Phillips? Who killed Captain... No. Who killed Captain something? Who killed Captain something? I forget. And long story short, there is a dude in that with it... Man, the effects are great. They have like little wooden or cardboard guns, and they just edited muzzle flash onto everything. It has roughly the same effects of early seasons of The Walking Dead, and some dude is just owning everybody, and they're basically, all these guys are taking cover, and they're like, "Oh no, he knows the way!" And I don't know what that means. Like, he knows the way to kill people really efficiently? Is that the way?
Oh, no.
And he's just taking everybody out, man.
That's really great.
And at that point, the internet asked to be shown the way.
Yeah.
Yeah, all right,
And
fair enough.
Ugandan Knuckles.
Knuckles was
is
there
here.
to fucking answer about the way.
My favorite is the DBZ Knuckles spin-offs where the Knuckles guy becomes a Super Saiyan and fights Vegeta. That was like prime internets for me.
You know what I'm really worried about? the Sonic the Hedgehog movie that's going to come out.
Oh no, that's
going to be an
amazing.
abomination.
That is amazing. They saw what they're doing with Professor Pikachu or whatever it was, and Sega was like, we have a property that Spurge want to see. Yeah, and they were just like, and who can we get? Jim fucking Carrey.
That's gonna be weird.
They should get Christian.
Dude, they should have like a little like they should have a cameo with Chris Chan, man. I think that's the only way to handle
They
this.
should
Speaking-
end Sonichu,
speaking
and
of,
they
though,
should
here's-
compensate
here's
him
the thing,
properly
like,
for his creation.
I don't know who
Yeah.
asked for a talking Pikachu in the form of Meowth. but
Dude,
I don't understand
Not
why.
me.
It's basically honestly, it is like Deadpool putting on a Pikachu mask.
Yeah.
Like that's pretty much.
the
what
thing
Yeah.
about it is that
like,
for years I have been asking for the gritty PG-13 Transformers Michael Bay thing to get done to Pokemon.
which makes perfect sense.
It's not even my holy cow. I just want to see explosions, and it doesn't even have to be mean explosions. It could be just as violent as the anime was, but with CGI and live action people to shout "Go Pikachu!" And I see this shit, and I'm like, is it time?
Is it happening?
And then they're like, but you get Deadpool as talking Pikachu, and I'm just like, why would you do this
Nobody
to my
asked
dream?
for this,
No
yeah.
one
It's like, I
asked
guess
for
we're
this.
doing this.
I guess.
Don't get me
I guess
wrong.
we're doing
I'm going
this.
to watch, and I have hope. I have hope, but
You're
it is hope at this point.
Ooh.
It is, yeah.
Oof.
No, there is no hope.
Oh damn. Let me have hope. Maybe Deadpool Pikachu will be great. I don't know. It won't be Pokemon, but it could be something new and different.
Nah, man, I've lost so much faith. After they made Pokemon extra dimensional, and then the remakes of the first one with Pikachu and what's the other one? And the Fox, Eevee, both of which I hate.
Haven't there been like 14 Pokemon movies or something like that?
Oh, there've been like hundreds of them. There's actually one for every single season.
Truth
Wow.
be told,
Yeah.
like of all
I've seen
of,
a lot of them too.
of all
I
the
believe that you
aspects-
probably
And in
have.
fact, the most recent one that I watched, this is for like real. So your favorite Pokemon is Luxray,
That's right.
right? So
I
basically,
don't even know what the hell that one is. I kind of
Lightning
lost.
Strikes.
I kind of
Thundercat.
lost my way after like 250. Like the first 150, and then there was like the first
Yeah.
expansion, and that's pretty much where my knowledge is.
yeah, I've said this before. I used to be some sort of horrible elitist, and now I kind of feel like. So, are you familiar with the story behind? Yeah, Luxray.
Okay,
Are
that
you
makes
familiar
sense.
with the story behind the
That almost
him?
looks like Pokemon Blue, actually, in a weird way.
Doesn't it?
Yeah.
Oh no!
Yeah.
Are you familiar with like the story behind Amazing Grace? The dude who wrote it was an ex-slaver.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then like who's the dude who set the slaves free or helped set the slaves free in England? Fuck. William Wilberforce, and William Wilberforce was a parishioner for this dude, and he convinced him. He knew this dude. He convinced him to stop being a slaver, and he wrote Amazing Grace, saying, "This is how great God's grace is, that He would forgive me after all this horrible shit that I've done." I feel like my William Wilberforce was a dude I know who's my old workout buddy, who every day would wear me down and say like, "The old ones weren't that great. There were good new designs. You're just being a purist. You're just being a nostalgia kid. You need to play the new games." And it's like when I played the new games and saw how great they were, I was just like, I once was lost. The most recent movie that I saw actually confirms that Pokemon die, and it uses Luxray.
That's painful, man.
I Choose You Pikachu. Watch it. One of them freezes to death in the snow.
What
Oh,
a
God.
horrible, sad thing.
I don't know, man. I think Pokemon needed that to get its balls back, because you remember, like, the original episodes were... So, what was I going to say? So, one of the best RPGs, or one of his favorite RPGs, is called Rifts, and it's a strange RPG world that is actually pretty creative. Some people just thought, all these times people are having arguments, who would win, Superman or Goku? Who would win, Lex Luthor or the Thundercats? Wait, I have an idea. We will make a system of rules by which the players can literally have anything they want, and we should have continued this campaign. It was actually pretty dope. So,
Yeah, okay, so it's a world where literally anything can happen, and portals to every possible dimension and creation have opened up on planet Earth after the apocalypse. So imagine Fallout plus superheroes plus anything and everything.
And just anything.
So guess what they decided to play? What did you play?
I played as a Pokemon trainer.
Yep.
And guess what he decides to
I
play?
actually don't remember what the
You
hell
were
that
a
He
Greek
plays-
demigod. Basically, I continued to play this character that was like just super upbeat and really ignorant about this horrible post-apocalyptic Mad Max style world, and just assumed that everyone was a Pokemon, or that there's trainers somewhere, or they're so backwards that they don't solve their problems with Pokemon fights. What's wrong with them? And then he thinks, I'll solve this. I'll teach them I'll make the original Elite Four here. And he keeps getting killed, but because he literally does not wear any armor. Everything in that universe is super deadly. But I think we kind of made it canon that like he just passes out. He's basically invincible, but almost feckless without his Pokemon.
What happens is his screen goes black and he loses half of his money mysteriously and then wakes back up.
So as he keeps waking up, being killed by things in this like little mini dungeon or some shit like that, he gets grittier and grittier until he finally opens up his eyes, and it was like a Rick and Morty thing where he's like, let's go back and fucking kill that thing. And I just really had this we never got to the end of it, but I really had this like pleasant thought that like by the end he was gonna be like Mad Max with like a leather jacket and a helmet and just like have like a Growlithe that'll light his cigar, and he's got scars and a laser gun, and now he understands how this world works.
I can summon my Pokemon, but I'll do this one
Yeah.
myself.
Yeah, now he understands how this world works. I really wanted to keep going with that.
We were actually having a lot of fun, but I think it was maybe too.
It was a great. I like the world. The mechanics are a little bit like.
The mechanics are like maximum grognard.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like,
how many graphing calculators did you bring?
imagine D&D like 2nd edition with all the splat books and like, you know, you're playing a character that has 8 attacks that are each like D20 plus 15 and stuff like that, and then you've got SDC damage, and then you've got fucking mega damage, and you gotta calculate all this other stuff like that. And running a single round takes like 30 minutes, and you've got all these books that you're sifting through. They're like 40 Rifts World
You
books,
have
and I
half
have
of them.
all of them.
You have all of them.
Rift's world, White Wolf mechanics. That is the ideal RPG in my opinion.
Actually, you know, it's funny that you mentioned that. I am working on publishing my own RPG in not too long. I'm 47 pages into a player's handbook of some new stuff.
Yeah, I think we kind of like gave a test run to that. We've aspired to start a lot of campaigns. We don't finish too many campaigns. The second longest running one that we did, besides the first,
you can't top Star Circuit, man.
Anyway,
Yeah.
Dude, we had a single campaign that went from start to finish for a year and
Over
a
a
half.
year,
It was
really.
great.
Yeah, it was a year
Actually,
and a half.
that was you really
And
don't
I
see
really
that
wanted to continue with the one where I was kind of an Anthony Bourdain-esque vampire in San Francisco, just trying to cook, but kind of just gets caught up in some horrible world, and then we didn't continue because you didn't want to keep doing heroin in a back alley.
So
Who
wait a
doesn't
second.
want to do
Here's
that?
what
Keep
happened.
doing hair.
That became like some Persona 5 shit. Like, you think the plot is going on, but actually you only have each night to do your single action for the day. And what did they decide to do? He decides that he's going to go do heroin behind a dumpster.
They
For
insulted
his
my
time.
character's cooking, and he had just seen a firebombing, and he has like no experience in the shady underworld, and is
And
an
I kept
addict.
turning invisible to steal your shit.
Yeah, you kept
And
pissing
you know
me
what,
off.
You know what he does? One night he goes and hangs out with a bunch of furries in a hotel.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
And then his second night, he's like,
I
well,
was trying to find the werewolves, and they said that they were wolf people. Okay, my
Yeah.
character was completely vindicated.
And then the other night, so the plot is going, there are some antagonists, there are some fun things going on that I probably can't talk about on camera and everything like that. But we have some clear like direction that everyone's going in, and the other 2 players are all on board and they're on that train. He decides to leave the party and tries to get a day job as a mechanic.
Yeah, he needed money. He's a werewolf, but he still needs money.
One of my favorite, actually, one of the other campaigns that we did for a couple of them were, we got so heated. I may have talked about this in the other Vampires review, the actual main event. We did a side campaign that I like kind of like scrapbook DM'd of, like what we would do actually as vampires, like us. And they go up from here to Annapolis, and they just like fucked around and shit like that. And what I really liked is I had 2 self-insert characters because I went full Chris Chan. There was Old Tolstoy.
I really liked our play yourself sort of story.
We had Old Tolstoy, who was basically full regalia, you know, whole suit and tie and everything, who I gave no strength but ultimate speed. And then I had the new me, who is a little bit more strength but less speed. And I made the new me a gangrel because in IRL I would be a gangrel. And as edgy as this is, I definitely love shape-shifting as a power. That's what I loved with the gangrel. But if, you know, in that universe, gangrels will usually shapeshift into an animal. And so I actually had to think to myself, what kind of animal would I be? And I don't want to be an edgelord and be like, I'm a wolf. I'm a bigger wolf. I'm a dire wolf. So
By the way, tonight is a super wolf blood moon.
So I would like to point out too, as the Christian witch to the wider pagan community, I feel like statistically and respectfully, too many of us are reporting wolves as our spirit animals. I feel like more work can be done in that department.
Yep. So
just a gentle put out.
I actually asked around like some close fans who had become friends, and I said, so what kind of animal would I turn into? And I was like, kind of trying to lead this towards like a dog, and they were just like, raccoon. And I was like, ooh.
Raccoons are cute, man. Nothing's wrong with raccoons. They're curious,
You can
they're
hang out with my
sentimental,
brother.
they're intelligent.
Yeah, so we should probably wrap this up. I guess constantly just wanted to do this because it's gonna suck not having you guys around. It's been nice to come up for breaths of air and talk about normal people things. Well, okay, not normal. Anyway, so yeah, man, it's been good seeing you guys. It's definitely been life-changing. It's been interesting that we met and then met again. I feel like before I didn't really know you guys too well. I didn't come to your guys' wedding. I went back. So I mean, I was at their wedding before this, and that was an interesting night. And I actually went back looking through old photographs to see if I showed up in any of their wedding photos, and I actually do. And I got Mike Wachowski'd on accident. There is literally a hand passing a piece of wedding cake over top of my face.
Nice.
And I'm just sitting down. I only recognized me because of my dope tie.
That's
I tried to. I have to admit, I tried my luck for the longest. This guy's actually had, like, he's been trying to get out of here for much longer, and every time that they've been like, well, it got delayed because life happens, I've just, like, been unapologetically going like, fuck yeah, you're screwed, stay here and entertain me, and it's been pretty great, so, but I knew that my time was up. It was eventually up.
If you're smart, become physically stronger. If you're physically strong, become smarter.
Fuck yeah, Yukio Mishima. A poet should be a warrior, and a warrior should be a poet. And
That's right.
that was why my shit changed. I mean, I didn't know about this ahead of time, but that's why my shit changed, man. Because he was trying to defend his fucking poetry, and I'm trying to defend my cringy fucking YouTube videos by climbing on rocks and lifting weights, as feckless as I am.
Also, you know, if you ever plan on becoming a hero at some point in time, it's important to become physically fit and look good so that you can die a tragic death.
If you're ever planning on anheroing, you can also do the same thing.
Make sure that you look good first. This is very important.
Fucking A, man.
In other words, don't disregard aesthetics.
And would you have anything you'd like to add?
You're a terrible person.
I
None
know.
of us will miss you.
Damn.
No, I understand. Fuck that. I ain't here to be.
That's cold.
I ain't here to be liked.
Very much the opposite. We're gonna miss you very much. And
Yes.
there are airplanes that go to where we live,
And train.
and trains.
Can I get on them?
And
And
cars.
95.
Yes, you can.
At 95, my ass is gonna drive.
Because art is important.
If
Almost.
I'll say 10 Hail Marys, and I think that fixes shit.
Yeah.
That's how that
Probably.
works.
So
So,
I can confirm.
was that what was this at? It was what do you call that? A white elephant
Oh,
or whatever?
Yeah,
when you're at a Christmas party and somebody everyone opens up a random gift. You can either steal someone else's gift or pass your gift along. There's some stupid rules. It's like drinking games. This does not need to be this complex. And some nice young lady had this, and you were one too many in,
Yeah.
and you decided to
Yeah.
take hers, and she seemed visibly upset by this. And as you removed it from her, what did you say?
I actually don't remember because I was one too many.
You don't remember?
No.
You said you deserve this.
That's right.
Look how nice. We
Great.
gotta know about
That's
how
wonderful.
mitzvah is mitzvot.
Yeah, this is
Mitzvah
mitzvah.
is
And you got this from your synagogue,
Yes.
which I've been to. I visited her synagogue. I thought that was kind of cool. I like going to people's places of worship. I just don't drink the Kool-Aid, and I don't know how cool it is to just roll up on people. Buddhists are great. You can literally go into a Buddhist monastery with a gun. I know this from a friend of mine.
Who went into a Buddhist monastery with
The
a gun.
gun.
He's like, after he's already inside, oh, you think it'll be a problem?
And he's just like lifting up a, hey, completely legal, 100% legal. He was within the law to do so, and there were no signs posted, and technically even if they were, he had the authority to ignore those signs, but it's just like, why would you go into someone's church? Yeah, they don't care. So, long story short, this comes from some weird, some weird temple, some synagogue, and I forget, but basically anytime that anyone was engaging in an activity that goes against any of the laws of
The 613
kashrut or
mitzvah.
613 mitzvah, what was it that we were taught?
That's prohibited!
So one day at like 8 a.m. I get a text message from you that's just a zoom up on this and I can see nothing but the menacing eyes and it says, prohibition intensifies. And I'm just like, what the actual fuck? And you wrote back, do you know what it is? And I was just like, why? Always
great.
prohibited.
Yeah.
Fuck.
It's actually great because that thing can be strategically placed to make it look like it's stalking you, like the omnipresent, judicious,
Yeah, the eyes are always
the
following
eyes of
you.
God. Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
It's,
There it
it's
is.
always very intense. Yeah.
There it is.
That's prohibited.
Anyway,
Good stuff.
I think that's it. Alright, you guys should get out of my house now.